Okay, kids are at the grandparents. I double checked that my microphone is on for this next attempt to take a little preview video here. And this morning we're in beautiful Phoenix, Arizona, a place I like very much since I lived there for a couple of years. And we are also using the great Phoenix Sky Harbor scenery by Mr. X. He's doing great sceneries. And of course I like this one especially because it holds a place dear to my heart. We're also using SkyMax clouds, in case you're wondering, another add-on that I like. And of course we're using the XX737 prototype. And here it's parked, Terminal 4 Charlie 8. And I changed the livery and also added the winglets to make it blend in with the other aircraft here. And I think it does so quite nicely. Jump into the cockpit. We're just going to do a short hop to Los Angeles this morning, and I just took the plane over from the previous captain. Everything's still running, APU's on, but the cheapskate did not turn on the packs, and you can see that it's hot, almost 35 degrees. Let's get some air conditioning going and cool the plane down. And of course we need all the air we can get in the cockpit to get it nice and cool for us in here. Anyway, they also ran the plane down fuel-wise pretty good, only 2 tons left. And how much fuel do we need to get to LA? Well, easy. We have a little pre-flight menu with a quick fuel planner. It's about 330-40 nautical miles to go. So he says we need 1 hour and should cruise at 370 with almost 5 tons of fuel. And I'm not going to hit apply and reset because this bumps me back to the runway. I'm just gonna remember 5,000 kilograms, and I'll use the ground services menu. And of course real pilots don't bump it out here. They go to the flight interphone, enable reception, and then hit intercom, and the ground guy comes up and he says, yes, what do you want from me? I'm busy and it's hot. I'll say we want 5.2, just a little extra for unexpected delays. Also we'll have the APU running, so get cranking. Realistic speed. This takes some time to fill in the tanks, but we'll have some time to spend anyway because everyone wants to see the FMS, and we've been busy with that one, so I'll show you in a second. Everything else I kind of preset already, the MCP, and we'll have to wait with the... Actually we can fill in, see I filled in the performance page already, 40 tons of zero fuel weight reserves. We'll go a little faster this time, maybe cost index 60. I'm not going to talk about cost index now. Read up on the internet if you're really interested. And it would just simply take too long. And of course we're going to go at 370. So I'll put that in there. And I'm not going to do the N1 limit and takeoff planning yet because the gross weight is still going to increase as fuel pours into the tanks, as you can see here. Also not going to do all these little tests and everything that I showed in the cold and dark video. You know how that works. So let's get right to the meat. Actually, one thing that you will spot, we added some little nicks, scratches and dead bugs to the window. You can see as I move around, they really help with the perception of having a windscreen there and not just staring out into through a perfectly clean pane of glass. Okay, what you want to do when you plan a flight depends on how realistic you want to get. Of course, the real pilots have a pre-planned route, and you can enter all these waypoints and airways and everything. If you just want to go from A to B, you could just enter the destination and a runway and go direct. We're going to do a little in between. We're going from Phoenix, to KLAX, and we'll just make up a flight number here. You can just put in whatever you want there. So let's, you can already see that we get the little Phoenix symbol right here on the map. but nothing else yet. So we'll go to the departure arrival page. We'll choose Phoenix departures. They have all these runways on here that we could pick on all these departures. And if you pick a runway, let's say 25 right, it immediately prunes the list of SIDs only to the applicable ones. And you can already see the runway symbol is here and the extended center lines show up too. So we'll just go with a Buckeye 2 departure, a Palm Springs transition, and as I enter information, you see the cyan dashed line starts showing up, and that shows you what is in there already. We'll pick an arrival, and usually I like to start with the runway, because that again prunes down the list to applicable transitions and arrivals, and we'll just go with the river transition. You really want to have a map of the area, preferably of the approaches and the stars, if you go to this level of detail. But as I said, you could just pick the ILS-24 right and then go straight to the 10-mile point or so, and that's fine too. Here we go. If I check what I entered on the legs page, I can actually choose the plan mode here. And something we did, if you look down here on the left side, as you change EFIS setting and information, you get a little preview window, and it stays up as long as you don't move the camera, so you see what you can, what are you doing, and you don't have to glance up all the time at the real one. But here I picked the plan mode, and you can already see that there's a quirk in the route here. I checked with the real map. There's a waypoint in here, Avona, that's not on the current Buckeye departure anymore, and it creates some problem. You'll happen across that once in a while, and just like in the real plane, things like that do happen. Of course, everyone is working hard to avoid that, but in this case we'll just scratch the Avona intersection, and we'll take Buckeye, place it up here, and the route looks a lot better. If you use the step function, you can see that the map changes, and you can just step through all the waypoints that you have. You see we're at Palm Springs now, and there's a discontinuity there. The plane does not know how to get from Palm Springs to the next waypoint. Well, where is the next waypoint? I'm just going to increase the range a little bit. Here we are. Oops, the other way. And if I look at the preview window, I can see that this is sufficient. And there you can see Palm Springs, and then here is probably river. All these waypoints clutter together a little too far, and so I'm going to change the range again. It's always a back and forth like that to really see what you're doing. And again, you see we have the Bassett arrival in here. It's actually starting right here and goes past the transition, so that was probably not a good idea to even put that in. So what I'm going to do is I will just take the first point of the approach transition, that was river, and it's right here, and I'll move that right after Palm Springs like this, and then check it out on the map, and you see here's the routing coming from Palm Springs to river, and then we can just step down, and you see it's a straight line to MERS, and then the ILS-24 right, and finally the missed approach to the RAF zone. Okay, that looks good. So you can see that already the legs page is functional. You can add waypoints, you can remove them, you can cut short, and you can switch back and forth between the different arrivals and departures, and that of course makes navigating and flying a whole lot easier. Last thing, of course, we want the blue cyan to turn into the magenta that we all love so much, so we're going to activate and execute, and here we go, magenta route. Going back, we don't want to fly in plan mode, of course, to the map and go to a short range so we see something. Also, let's look at the airports. Of course, I don't want to miss flying over Goodyear, where I learned to fly, and the FO also gets to get a nice setup right here. Okay, that was that. Let's see how we're doing fuel-wise. 5.2, that's what we wanted. So now it's safe to plan for the departure. You've seen this before. Pick a takeoff flap setting and accept the speeds, put in 127, 138 as the V2, use the plastic box, 127 and V2 plus 15, so that's 153, and same here, 153, 127. Here we go. I'm not going to set VR, it's really close to V1, so we'll just memorize it's just above that. Okay, that looks good. Quick glance at the overhead panel. Let's see what I forgot. I did wait with the window heat because in the summertime it really helps to wait because the windows get warm. And but you can see the passenger cabin is nice and balmy now, 22 degrees C. Air condition is doing its job. We have the fasten belt lights on. Of course, this one is still missing. It would still be set to the previous flight's altitude. It initializes here to 0, and that means I have to dial it all the way to 370. Tedious, but it's just as tedious as it is in the real plane. And of course, Los Angeles is about 30 feet of elevation. It's on auto, and we don't need any external light. It's bright enough out there, so we're good with that. Okay. Of course, we want this right CDU a little more bright, and of course something that we are proud of is that you can actually enter and change stuff on both CDUs, and it has the effects as appropriate, so we're not limited to one side only, and you can display takeoff information here and maybe legs information over here as you fly. Okay, time for pushback. Everyone's aboard, and we don't have ground power connected, so let's get going with that. And I'm just going to show you from the outside that we are right here by this taxiway, so we want to push back and then turn the nose towards the right. I'll move to free camera and show you the intended taxiing. Here's the 25 right, so we want to push back nose to the right, end up somewhere on this taxiway, and then taxi out to runway 25 right. I can also do this from external view. I'll just bump the ground services and I say push back nose to the right, and he says release brakes. A little pushback truck pops up. Close this window and you can see he starts pushing. We don't have any nifty gadgets in place for determining how far back you push and what when to turn and all that stuff. Good thing that guy just turned away. But we just hit the brakes when we're done, and it's just really a way to get you away from the gate. And of course this captain completely forgot to turn on the collision light. Shame on me, but so far nobody noticed. While we do that, I'm jumping in the cockpit and do what I forgot. And also I forgot to turn on the transponder so they can see me on the ground radar. Of course, all this stuff wouldn't happen if we use the checklists, and we have a little checklist right here. It's in this little flap here on the dash, so you can click, and it's got two sides. And of course, you want to use that so you don't forget anything important. And just going to go through the before start, flight deck door, fuel, check that passenger signs are on, windows closed, NCP is set up, and of course you would read and challenge or read the response, and there's the anti-collision light, so I would have caught that right there. Okay, next thing is before taxi, so I'm good to start the engines now. Put that away again, and as I switch back to outside, you can see that I'm out here. I hit the brakes, this thing disappears, and I'm ready to start the engines. Of course, very important is that you turn off the packs when you do that, so you get enough start pressure. Here we go, over 40 psi, that's great. So I'm going to jump outside, go to free camera, move around the plane. Of course, we always start with engine number 2 first. Here it is. I'm going to get really close so you get a good view. It's spinning slightly because there's a wind from the west, and so the engine is spinning backwards, so I expect it to stop and spin the other way as I hit the starter. And let's do that. I mapped it to a key. you can hear the bleed air rush into the starter, and it spins the N2 core, and actually the engine was spinning in the right direction. So it's accelerating the engine. And as it spins fast enough, I'm going to add fuel. And here it goes. We have worked on the startup sequence a bit more to get some more approximate timings and peak EGTs. And you can see as I start engine number 1 that N2 starts spinning. And now near 25% I'm going to add fuel again. I've mapped this to a key. And you see the EGT starts going up. Want to check the fuel flow, that it's appropriate and not spiking to something really high that would indicate a malfunction and a probably hot start ensuing. But everything looks fine. And also notice that our idle values are now not exactly the same. We have a random engine age system in place that will give you a slight variation in N2 and EGT, and also engine acceleration as you go for takeoff, so you can, it looks a little more realistic. No two engines are really alike. Okay, good. With the engine starts, so I'm just gonna go through the after start items real quick. You've seen this before. Check the generators. Now it's time to turn on the pitot heat and get air condition going again. It gets really warm in the cabin. If you've flown in the summer on the 737, then you know that it's you notice immediately when they start the engines it gets hot in the cabin. So we want to turn that on as fast as we can. We don't need the APU anymore, so we can shut that down. And here we want to get the auto brake, get the flaps set to 1, and do the flight control check. Let's jump to the outside view. Just looks a bit cooler as you wiggle full left and full right. And of course the elevator. And we also do the rudder. Now on my setup you would see that the nose wheel is turning with it as well. So I'm just going to move so you cannot see it. And that works as well. Okay, time to get the before taxi checklist, as they call it now. The generators are on, pitot heat, we just did that, anti-ice, we don't need. The isolation valve is back to auto, engine start switch is continuous. Recall, see, I forgot that. Let's hit the recall, checked, nothing wrong. Auto brake RTO, engine start levels idle to 10, and check the flight controls. So we're ready to taxi. Of course we want to turn on the taxi lights, and always like the runway turn-off lights, you know that already. Go to outside view and release the brakes. Okay, let's get out of the way here. And here she goes. Okay, this should conclude part 1. I'm going to do the takeoff and a little technical problem on part 2 of this video, and I should get that done within a few days, if not hours, and those should go up on YouTube anytime now.